Hello and welcome to week 4. So when you are done with this week, you are officially at the halfway point of the course, which is so hard to believe. So what you're going to be looking at in this week is we're kind of finishing up what we were starting with Project 1. And so in this week, you're going to be doing the final pieces of Project 1 as well as taking your midterm exam. So at this point, hopefully what you have already done is you have uploaded your teaching lesson as well as your assessment into your group discussion board. And so the final pieces are taking all of the assessments for the other people in your group and sending them to the author of the assessment, as well as providing feedback to at least 2 of your group mates. Make sure that you read the requirements of what you need to do when you're giving feedback. It's not supposed to be something as simple as, oh, I really liked your lesson, or, oh, I was so glad I did great on your assessment. There are certain questions that you need to be answering because we're really trying to get focused in the feedback that we're giving. So you became an expert on one part of speech, but you had other people in your group who were becoming experts on their part of speech in order to make you more comfortable and familiar with it so that when you have to teach it in the classroom, you have a better understanding of it as well. So I definitely want you to be encouraging, but make sure that you look at the rubric, at the guiding questions. And if you've already provided feedback within your group discussion board, but you feel like you want to add some more, you can certainly go back in and do that. So really the last part of finishing up Project 1 is making sure that you as the author and creator of your assessment grade all of your classmates' test on your particular assessment and then return them to each person. So whether or not you do that within the group discussion board or via email, it's completely up to you. But that really kind of completes Project 1. And so the other thing you're going to be doing this week is your midterm. And so before you get started on your midterm, we're going to be looking at writing a sentence. So you kind of notice that the first 4 weeks we're really dealing with kind of, the parts of speech, the parts of a sentence, how to actually write a sentence. And so when we get into week 5, we're going to be changing gears just a little bit as we're looking at punctuation. And in week 5, you'll be getting the instructions for Project 2. One other thing to mention, you will notice that when you look at the rubric for Project 1 within the discussion board, that it's only worth 50 points. That's because the other 50 points come from the interactions that you'll have on Project 2. So I didn't want you to freak out if you saw that you had a 50 when it came to the group discussion board for Project 1. That actually means you got full credit. So as long as you're following the rubric, then you will be completely fine with your interactions for that group discussion board. So when you get into writing a sentence, one of the main things that you're looking at this week is diagramming sentences. Now, I know that that is probably not something that anyone just stays up at night because they're so excited to work on it. And I can't imagine that it was something that was your favorite thing to do in school, although there are plenty of people who completely enjoy diagramming sentences. I did not happen to be one of those people, but that doesn't mean that it isn't a critical skill for you to learn, not just as a student, but as a teacher, because diagramming sentences helps out visual learners more than anything. So when you look into our week 4 study folder, you're going to see that there's 2 resources in here. This PDF is the PowerPoint that just kind of shows you how to do some diagramming of sentences. And like I said, this is so helpful to visual learners because when you're able to show them how it's separated and how the parts of speech work together, it makes sense to a lot of students. So when you start looking at the diagonal lines, you're also going to see that as we're taking sentences apart, we're able to start pulling out those extra pieces that add to the sentence. So these are some really good slides to look at, as well as the other resource that is here, helping visual learners by diagramming. And so this is definitely something that I would encourage you to look over so that you become familiar with it. It looks very familiar to what you saw on the PowerPoint slides, but it also gives you some good websites that you can go to. So definitely spend some time reviewing those resources so that you can become more familiar with it yourself. So once you've done that, you've read chapters 54 and 55 in your textbook, then you're going to be ready for your midterm. So there is a prep sheet as well as the answers. So I would definitely encourage you to take this prep test and then check your answers so that you completely understand it. In all honesty, this study guide is harder than the actual midterm. So if you do well and feel comfortable with this, then you're going to be completely fine on the midterm. So the midterm is 15 questions. It is going to be timed, but it is 60 minutes. So you should have more than enough time to get it done. And you do have 2 tries. It is open book, so giving you every opportunity to do well on it. But it really is just kind of a good refresher of everything that we've talked about so far in this course before we move on to our next topics when we get to week 5. So again, just make sure that you grade all of your tests and return them to your classmates, to your group mates, and to complete your midterm exam. So like I said, once you get to that point, you are officially at the halfway point of our course. So take a deep breath, give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing a great job. I hope that you really are starting to at least enjoy the fundamentals of grammar and just looking at it from a different aspect. When we start looking at something from a teacher lens instead of a student lens, it takes on a whole different meaning, because we are trying so hard to make sure that we not only understand the material, but can translate it into terms and activities and lessons that our students are going to understand. So good luck on your midterm, and I will see you in week 5.